Let's have an honest conversation. How often do you find yourself wondering whether you're truly connecting with your partner in the way he needs but never expresses? The reality is that most men keep their deepest desires unspoken, not from lack of wanting to share it, but because they've learned to suppress vulnerability. Cultural expectations demand they project confidence and control constantly. So even when something feels off, silence becomes their default response. This leaves their partners interpreting unclear signals and second guessing themselves. What's surprising is that male pleasure follows recognizable patterns, both psychological and physical. Once you understand these patterns, intimacy transforms from guesswork into genuine understanding. I used to believe attraction was purely visual for men, that excitement alone drove their desire. But studying how arousal functions on biological, emotional, and neurological levels revealed something unexpected. What most men truly crave has less to do with intensity and more to do with how you make them feel during quieter, more intentional moments. This isn't about putting on a show. It's about genuine comprehension. Before exploring specific approaches that create deeper connection, let's establish something fundamental. Meaningful intimacy isn't a performance you stage. It's a mutual rhythm you discover together. When that rhythm clicks into place, everything shifts from merely physical to truly memorable. Have you noticed how your partner's responses change based on your movements, breathing patterns, or touch? There's actual science behind these reactions. Male arousal operates through specific patterns of anticipation and sensory input. What seems casual from your perspective might trigger profound emotional satisfaction for him. His pleasure isn't just about physical sensation, it's about feeling responded to, affirmed, and connected. Most guidance misses this point entirely. It emphasizes mechanics without emotion, actions without underlying intention. But when you blend physical awareness with emotional attentiveness, you become someone he can't stop thinking about. That's what we're exploring here, not tricks, but approaches grounded in psychology, biology, and the art of attention, control, and presence. Each one helps you understand what he genuinely wants beyond surface reactions. Because his deepest desire isn't just to be touched, but to feel wanted. That's where real desire originates. Many women overlook an important truth about male vulnerability in intimate settings. Men carry sensitivity around pleasure that's tied directly to their sense of confidence. How you respond shapes his experience entirely. When he feels admired, his responsiveness increases. When he detects disappointment, even subtly, his body literally withdraws. This is biological, not attitudinal. Your real influence doesn't come from endless attempts to please. It comes from creating safety, space where he can drop pretense, stop performing and relax into authenticity. This begins long before physical contact. The way you look at him, your vocal tone, your breathing when you're near, all these elements matter more than most realize. Men respond to visual cues, certainly, but they're equally responsive to emotional signals. When you lean close and say something small but meaningful, I love how you make me feel, or you feel incredible right now, you're doing more than arousing him. You're triggering a neurological feedback loop that focuses his complete attention on you. He doesn't just hear those words, he experiences them as validation. For men, validation functions like oxygen. It fuels their desire to give more. It sustains connection longer and deepen intimacy. This explains why men often crave women who make them feel truly seen, not just desired physically, but recognized as individuals. These approaches center on that recognition. They're not about replicating moves from videos. They're about synchronizing with how his body and mind actually process pleasure. We'll explore how to guide his rhythm nonverbally, how timing builds intensity, how to transition between different energies at precisely the right moments, and how subtle communication drives him wild without explicit language. The truth is, once you understand his pleasure language, you'll realize the most powerful tool isn't about motion at all. It's about emotion. But here's what I want you to consider. Do you actually know what his body responds to when he's most vulnerable? Most women don't, which is why they repeat patterns that never quite achieve the connection they're seeking. The first approach isn't what you'd expect. Men crave confidence they can sense, not arrogance or performance, but genuine presence. When you're fully present, aware of your own movement and breathing with intention, you create a rhythm his body naturally synchronizes with. Most women focus on what to do without considering how they do it. Male arousal depends equally on the emotional energy you project and physical contact itself. When your touch feels tentative or uncertain, his body registers hesitation and excitement fades without him understanding why. But when your energy radiates calm assurance and deliberation, you become an anchor that grounds his desire. That's why the first thing men crave, even unspoken, is straightforward move with conscious control. Every gesture, breath, and body shift should feel intentional rather than reactive. When you command your own rhythm, you transmit a primal signal. You're safe, you can let go. When a man feels secure in your confidence, he opens completely. Think of it like partner dancing. The specific steps matter less than the connection between dancers. He follows your cues not because you're forcing him, but because your energy makes trust effortless. This is how strength and gentleness coexist perfectly. Many people assume male pleasure requires him taking control, but actually, the most powerful experiences happen when he surrenders, when he feels guided rather than commanded. You create this by leading with energy instead of words. Slow down when he accelerates. Pause when he anticipates movement. Match his breathing until you both synchronize. Biologically, his nervous system aligns with yours. His heartbeat adjusts. Muscle tension eases. Suddenly, what was merely physical becomes emotional. That's where intimacy deepens. Few women realize the male brain thrives on anticipation, not just sensation. When you vary tempo, when you linger slightly longer than expected, you create micro moments of uncertainty. These moments are addictive. His dopamine spikes not from what's happening, but from what might happen next. That's why unpredictability, handled with intention, becomes irresistible. This brings us to the second element. Mastering anticipation. Many women rush because they confuse intensity with connection, assuming more motion equals more pleasure. But male bodies don't respond linearly, they respond rhythmically. A sudden pause, breath on his neck, or subtle pace shift can be exponentially more powerful than continuous movement. You're essentially playing with his nervous system stimulate, hold, release. It's psychological tension in physical form. When you finally release that tension, his body experiences pleasure more completely. This is what men mean when they say they can't get enough of someone. It's not about repetition, it's about rhythm. Here's something most men won't admit they want to be teased too. They just don't know how to request it. Teasing isn't cruelty, it's chemistry. It's the distinction between wanting and needing. When you create that slow build, you're conditioning his mind to associate you with excitement, unpredictability, and satisfaction. You're not just providing pleasure, you're programming desire. There's another layer here. Many women believe communication ruins the mood, but the opposite holds true. The third element men crave is verbal affirmation. but delivered with intention. When you say the right thing in the right tone at the right moment, it becomes more powerful than any physical touch. Whispered phrases like "don't stop" or "you feel so good right now" aren't cliches. Their feedback loops signaling approval, which boosts dopamine and testosterone levels. That combination heightens focus and responsiveness almost instantly. But tone matters more than words. Say it softly, slowly, as if every syllable carries weight. You're not narrating, you're guiding. Men respond to affirmation like they need air. It makes them feel seen, capable, and confident. A confident man is a responsive man. Once he feels secure under your attention, his defenses drop and pleasure becomes mutual rather than one-sided. The paradox is simple. The more control you take with presence, the more he relaxes into vulnerability. The more you tease it, the more he trusts your rhythm. The more you affirm, the more he opens emotionally. This isn't manipulation, it's synchronization. You're guiding both his body and mind toward connection instead of performance. What he genuinely wants isn't dominance or submission, it's flow. That flow only emerges when you know how to read his cues and respond with confidence rather than doubt. This raises a question most women never consider. How do you feel in those moments? Are you truly connected or just acting out what you think he wants? Because men sense the difference instantly. The body doesn't lie. When your energy is genuine, his reaction transforms completely. Before moving forward, ask yourself, are you moving from instinct or intention? Because intention separates experiences he forgets from ones he can't stop replaying long afterward. Let's go deeper into what truly transforms his experience. The fourth element men secretly crave is emotional mirroring, reflecting his energy back with subtle precision. Men often struggle reading their own emotional states during intimate moments. They rely on you as the mirror showing them where they are. When you synchronize your expressions, breathing, even vocal rhythm to match his intensity, something profound occurs. His brain interprets that alignment as connection, safety, and acceptance. It's biological. Mirror neurons in his brain activate, causing him to subconsciously feel closer, more understood, more bonded. That's why when you move in sync without needing to ask, he feels both desire and trust surge. You're telling him wordlessly, I'm here with you. I feel what you feel. This transforms physical pleasure into emotional attachment. The key, however, is avoiding excess. Mirroring isn't imitation, it's adaptation. You're reading his energy, matching it enough to maintain connection while always guiding toward balance. If he's rushing, slow slightly so he follows. If he's hesitant, add gentle confidence to draw him forward. You become the emotional thermostat regulating the moment's temperature. He may not understand why he feels more relaxed or aroused, but he will feel it. That's the unspoken magic. The fifth element builds directly on that connection, active stillness. Most assume movement equals excitement, but truthfully, stillness, when timed right, is the ultimate amplifier. When you pause completely while maintaining eye contact or physical closeness, you create a shockwave of attention. The nervous system craves pattern. So when that pattern suddenly stops, his body floods with dopamine and anticipation. The silence between beats becomes its own rhythm. This stillness isn't passive, it's charged. It communicates power, control, and awareness. It says, I decide the pace. Paradoxically, that control gives him freedom to let go even more. When you hold still while maintaining touch and breathing deeply, his mind quiets. Thoughts disappear, replaced by pure focus on you. That's when connection becomes transcendence. Most women underestimate how deeply stillness affects male psychology. It's not just arousing, It's grounding. It makes him feel safe enough to surrender emotionally, something men rarely permit themselves. This is why exceptional lovers don't chase intensity. They manage it. They know when to push forward and when to pause, when to build pressure and when to release it. This dynamic flow creates unforgettable experiences. Let's examine what lies beneath these approaches, because beneath every physical act is deeper psychological truth. Men crave being understood without judgment. They fear failure in silence. Every compliment, touch, and moment of stillness communicates one thing: you're enough. That message changes everything. His anxiety drops, his body responds, and suddenly he's not performing for approval, he's participating in connection. Physical pleasure becomes a byproduct of emotional safety. When that safety exists, his natural instincts, generosity, focus, amplify automatically. You don't need to push, you just need to align. This is intimacy's real art, it turning awareness into action. You notice his breath quicken and respond with softness. You see his shoulders tense and guide him back with touch. You hear his breathing slow and know it's time to build tension again. It's a silent conversation of bodies, a language learned only through attention. The more fluent you become in that language, the more he feels understood on a level he didn't know was possible. When a man feels that kind of understanding, he doesn't just desire you, he bonds to you. That's the difference between lust and loyalty. Consider this. Most guidance never mentions that the best experiences don't happen because two people know techniques. They happen because they know each other's rhythm. Every man's rhythm differs slightly, shaped by confidence, history, and emotions. The secret isn't memorizing moves, it's reading feedback in real time and adjusting. That's mastery. Once you understand this, every element, movement, anticipation, affirmation, mirroring, stillness, becomes a tool you use fluidly, instinctively. You stop trying to impress and start influencing the experience. That shift is powerful. It changes his memory of you, his attraction to you, and how he connects afterward. He doesn't just remember what you did, he remembers how he felt. The truth is, the advantage in intimacy isn't about appearance or performance. It's about perception. You perceive more, feel more, read more. Use that as your power. Lead with awareness, and you'll never need to compete with intensity again. But ask yourself one final question: when did you last allow silence to do the talking? Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can give isn't movement or words, it's presence so deep he forgets where he ends and you begin. Now that you understand the foundations: confidence, anticipation, communication, mirroring, and stillness, let's move into what makes the entire experience unforgettable: the emotional afterglow. This is the space most people ignore, but it's actually where deep attachment begins. A man's body may relax after physical release, it, but his mind stays open for connection for a very brief window, around 15 minutes, according to neurological studies on post-intimacy bonding. During that window, oxytocin, dopamine, and serotonin levels shift rapidly. What you do in that time determines whether the experience stays as pleasant memory or becomes something he replays repeatedly. The sixth element isn't about movement or touch, it's about anchoring emotion. This means capturing that open, vulnerable moment and giving it meaning. You do this by grounding the energy that's been built, slowing your breathing, maintaining light contact, and saying something intentional, not a script, but a truth that reinforces safety and connection. Simple sentences like, "You make me feel safe," or "I love how connected I feel right now," sound effortless, but neurologically, they bind memory and emotion together. He'll subconsciously associate that calm, fulfilled state with you, it not just the act itself. That's how you move from momentary pleasure to emotional imprinting. Men rarely receive affirmation after intimacy. Many even feel exposed or uncertain. When you fill that silence with genuine presence instead of withdrawal, it rewires his expectations. He no longer fears the emotional drop that often follows physical release. Instead, he feels grounded, respected, and seen. That psychological safety transforms how he approaches intimacy next time. He becomes more communicative, patient, open to exploration, because his brain now links closeness with safety, not pressure. This is where true chemistry grows, not in the act itself, but in how you both exist in its quiet aftermath. Another crucial part of emotional anchoring is nonverbal continuity, maintaining physical awareness even after intensity fades. Keep your breathing aligned. Touch lightly his chest, hand, jawline. These small gestures tell his body we're still connected. They trigger the parasympathetic nervous system, lowering cortisol, deepening peace. In that quietness, you're telling him pleasure doesn't have to end when movement does. You're teaching him that closeness is an ongoing state, not an expiring moment. Men, often conditioned to hide tenderness, rarely experience that level of soft acceptance. When they do, they remember it with clarity that outlasts desire. That's how emotional loyalty is born. You might not think of this as technique, but it's the most powerful one because it shapes memory, and memory shapes desire. Think of it as the emotional echo that lingers long after everything else fades. To make this work authentically, you must remain genuine. Forced affection feels hollow, and the male brain detects inauthentic cues instantly. The key is mindfulness, being fully aware not of what you should say, but of what you actually feel. Let that guide your tone and timing. Men don't need poetic words, they need truth wrapped in calm energy. That's what earns trust. Trust more than skill makes connection sustainable. When you bring trust into physical intimacy, everything else expands naturally, communication improves, desire grows, experimentation becomes easy, and emotional safety turns into pleasure without fear. This is why many long-term couples lose passion. They skip the emotional closure part and let energy scatter. The mind never receives a signal that the moment was complete, so it never stores it as fulfillment. Over time, that erodes excitement. But when you close each encounter with presence, with anchored emotion, his body learns to crave not just touch, but the calm after it. That's when he starts wanting you, not just the experience. Let me ask something important. Are you rushing the ending or staying long enough for him to feel safe again? Because the difference between unforgettable and forgettable lies right there in the silence after satisfaction. Women who understand that silence, who stay connected, who breathe instead of pulling away, are the ones men never stop thinking about. This isn't manipulation, it's emotional intelligence applied to intimacy. You're shaping the neurological loop that defines attraction, satisfaction, and memory. Once you understand that, you'll never look at connection the same way again. Because now you know it's not about what happens during, it's about what lingers after. The art of intimacy isn't just touch. It's awareness, timing, and emotion working together. Every movement, pause, word, and silence carries meaning. When you master that balance, you stop guessing what he wants, you start knowing, you stop performing, you start leading. In doing that, you become the kind of woman he not only desires, but trusts completely. That's the ultimate secret. Yet it's the one most people never learn to practice. But we're not finished because the most important transformation happens not in him, but in you. What changes when you shift from seeking approval to mastering awareness? That's what we'll explore next. Here's the truth. It might surprise you when you master awareness, the person who transforms most isn't him, it's you. Everything about how you see intimacy, connection, and even your own confidence begins to shift because awareness is power. The power to understand what your partner needs without losing yourself in the process. The power to lead with calm energy instead of fear or self-doubt. The power to create experiences that leave lasting emotional imprints instead of fleeting excitement. When you start seeing intimacy not as performance, but as communication, you stop chasing validation and start creating resonance. That's what makes someone magnetic, not looks or words, but presence. Presence has weight. It slows time. It commands attention without demanding it. When you're fully present, you're not trying to impress, you're inviting him into a space where he can finally exhale. That's what men mean when they say, there's just something about her. It's not mystery, it's composure, softness, and self-assurance working together. He doesn't feel judged, he feels understood. In a world where most people are too distracted to truly listen, that understanding feels rare, almost sacred. You become the calm in his storm, the signal in his noise. That's what makes connection addictive. Don't mistake calm for passivity, though. Awareness doesn't mean doing less, it means doing everything with purpose. Every touch has intention. Every pause has rhythm. Every word carries emotional weight. This is the quiet mastery that separates extraordinary lovers from the rest. Once you start embodying that, the dynamic changes entirely. He begins to mirror you. He slows down. He listens more. He feels more. You've shifted the polarity without force, simply by being grounded in your own awareness. That's when intimacy stops being about performance and becomes about flow. Flow is the invisible current between two people who are in sync without needing control. It's not something you plan, it's something you allow. It only appears when both people feel safe enough to be fully present. When that happens, pleasure stops being an act and becomes an exchange. It's no longer about what you're doing to him. It's about what you're creating together. That's the kind of experience he never forgets because it feeds both body and mind. This is also where your confidence evolves because once you realize you can read his energy, guide the moment, and leave him both satisfied and emotionally centered, you stop worrying about doing it right. You already are. Confidence doesn't come from technique. It comes from trust. Trust in your ability to sense and respond. That trust radiates beyond intimacy. It changes how you speak, move, and connect in every area of life. You become calmer, clearer, more magnetic because you're not seeking permission to express yourself. You're already aligned with your own rhythm. That alignment is irresistible. It's why people feel drawn to women who move with quiet confidence. She doesn't chase attention, yet attention finds her. She doesn't perform love, she embodies it. That embodiment, once understood, it turns ordinary connection into something extraordinary. So when you hear the phrase, "This is how he wants it," remember, it's not about what he says he wants. It's about what his body and emotions respond to most deeply: confidence, patience, anticipation, communication, mirroring, stillness, and emotional anchoring. Those are the 7 pillars of unforgettable connection. They're not tricks or games, they're principles that work because they align with human biology and emotional psychology. You don't need to change who you are to apply them. You just need to become aware of what you already bring to the moment. When you do, you stop asking, "Aim, I enough?" because you realize you always were. The difference now is that you know how to use your awareness to create experiences that feel alive, connected, and real. So the next time you're close to someone, don't rush to impress. Slow down, Feel his breathing, match his rhythm, let silence speak, let anticipation build, lead with intention, not performance. Because what men crave, though they rarely say it, it isn't perfection, it's presence. When you give that, you don't just please him, you elevate both of you into something far beyond desire. You create memory, meaning, and mutual respect. You redefine what intimacy feels like. So the next time you wonder what he truly wants, remember this. It He doesn't want more effort. He wants more awareness. That's how you give him what he's been craving all along, not just pleasure, but peace. When you can give both, you become the experience he never stops returning to in his mind. You don't need to tell him you're different. He'll feel it in every breath, every pause, every moment you choose to stay instead of rush. And that's where real intimacy begins, not in what you do, but in how deeply you understand what it means to simply be.